Thanks for being there. This is Today with John and Helen on Plus TV Africa. Now, have you ever tried putting yourself in the place of a sexually abused person, especially a child?
And has it occurred to you why some people will go to every length to put a smile on the faces of many others, while some other persons are committed to dehumanize, people around them? Today's show will avail you of some fresh insights into this area.
And of course, our first guests, our first two guests actually, young and beautiful. Yeah. And I'm doing some awful things with them on the show today, and we're doing it for humanity, like they say. They'll join us at the appropriate time, so don't go away.
And don't forget, today with John and Helen, every week we bring you the Keep Fit segment with Dolly Phillips, and also the Culture Conversation, which is over, you saw her earlier. So today on the segment, we are talking about lenses, about activism, and the global perception of the continent on that section. John.
Yeah, it's jam-packed.
Yes.
Yeah, in one word, two words, jam-packed. And we shall take another break now. And when we return, our first guest will be seated. Please don't change the channel.
I'm looking forward to that conversation. Stay with us. That break is good enough. Just this one.
Yeah, just bring us
back. We've gone stories again.
Just bring us back.
Francisco, we see this your teaser or station ident like every other 10 minutes on this station, or 5 minutes.
Eight.
Okay, today with John and Helen. Life is the show, and we're on Plus TV Africa. It's compliments of the season, by the way. And to help us understand the many issues surrounding child sexual abuse is a survivor. And the topic is advocacy for boys, especially when the sexual offender is a female.
Yes, and our first guest has recorded a lot, and she has a record of standing up and giving voice to victims and survivors of sexual abuse. Being a child sexual abuse survivor herself, she's a rape recovery specialist, a pioneer, Tony Elumelu Foundation awardee, recipient of 2020 Nigerian Women Achievers Award for Women Advocacy and more. Please join us to welcome Antonia Ojenagbon, Executive Director, Tonia Bruised But Not Broken Foundation, an SGBU advocate and social entrepreneur. So good to have you, Antonia.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ma'am.
Thank you for
Good morning.
Your hair is something else.
I was going to say that.
Very bold, very bold. Okay, so are you taking the first shot, John?
Why not? I'd love to.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so Antonia, tell us quickly now, how does your personal experience as a child sexual abuse survivor influence your advocacy work?
Okay, when I was growing up, there was no sexual abuse information out there. I'm in my mid-40s, so, but now we have so much information. If I had information then, probably the abuse would not have gone on for the time length it went, and probably I would have run to an adult, looking for a trusted adult who would save me. Now we tell children stuff like, if an adult makes you uncomfortable, nobody told us an adult could make you uncomfortable. Then I got married without healing. And the psychological effects began to affect my marriage. At the point I was admitted at a mental health home, it was when I came back from the mental health facility, it occurred to me that, you have people like me who have gone through child sexual abuse, they haven't healed, it's affecting their adult's life. That's what gave birth to what I'm doing today.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so in your role as the Executive Director of Tonia Bruised But Not Broken Foundation, that's very apt. What specific support and interventions, has your organization over the years been able to provide for people that you find in this situation, survivors of sexual violence?
When I started off, I was just telling my story on social media, making people realize that.
How long ago was that?
In 2016, I started telling my story. So when I came back from the mental health home, I wrote my story. You know, I wanted people to know that there's no big deal being admitted in a mental health facility if you've gone through child sexual abuse and you haven't healed. You know, and I wanted people to know that therapy and counseling is available. And moreover, as a person of faith, I wanted people to know that it is not a sin for you to seek therapy. So what I was just doing there was just advocacy. But now, what we do now is holistic support. Having been in the space for some time, now I understand what survivors go through. Now I understand why survivors don't want to come out. So what we do at Tonya Bruised But Not Broken is providing a holistic support. That holistic support is apart from providing therapy and counseling, we go a step further, helping the survivor. If it's an adult survivor, you want to report the case to the police, we're not just going to sit down and say, oh, go to the police. We will follow the survivor to the police station every time they have to go and face the police, because we found out that when an advocate follows the survivor to the police station, they're treated in a better, they're treated better than when the survivor goes to the police and they begin to ask questions.
Without all the information.
Yes, you know, so the stigmatization and the shaming of the victim, it's very real. But once you have a survivor standing up, an advocate standing up for that survivor, especially if that person has gone through it, you know what this survivor is going through.
Yeah.
So now, apart from doing interventions, we now provide legal support. So our cases go to court, and every time the case comes up in court, we are present. So we are fully present in the life of the survivor.
So it's like setting up a proper structure to deal with this situation.
Yes.
Now let's even go to the result of what that structure, has given us. Could you share a success story, probably, where your foundation made a significant impact in the life of a survivor?
Okay, the recent one happened last month, and it was a celebrated case. The case of the medical doctor who defiled his wife's niece and was given 2 life imprisonment by Justice Ramon Ushodi. Tonya Bruised But Not Broken played a very vital role in getting justice for the survivor. So that is one of our most celebrated cases right now.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, we introduce you as an SGBV advocate. What is it about?
Sexual and gender-based activists, yes.
So you're not dealing with the younger ones alone?
No, we deal with adults also.
You also deal with adults?
Yes.
All right. So a while ago you talked about, that something is real. The stigmatization, the shame, the challenges are real. Nigeria has seen an increase in awareness, like you said at the beginning, about gender-based violence. Now, how does advocacy for boys fit into this broader conversation, specifically advocacy for boys? Because when you talk about child sexual abuse, our mind just goes to
girls.
Okay, the house girl that's been violated by the master or the gatesman or the driver and all of that. But this is taking us to the other side.
Yes. Awareness has made us to realize now that not only girls are being sexually abused, 1 out of every 6 boys that you see has been violated. And the sad truth is they were violated by women. I run a support group for sexual abuse survivors. Sometime in 2018, I decided to do a support group for men. And the men actually came, And at one of the meetings, one of the men said, I promised them that no woman was going to be around. That's why they came. So I said, but I'm the convener. And the guy said, if I do not leave, he's not going to talk. So I had to leave. We had 42 men at that meeting. By the time that meeting ended, out of the 42 men, 40 of them were violated before they got to the age of 5 by their cousins who are women, by their female house helps, by their female clergy,
teachers,
by their teachers. It was really heartbreaking, So now we now understand that we're not going to just talk about girl advocacy. A lot of the girl advocacy is out there. We need to attend to the boys. The way a girl is being violated and we take it off the roof and we run with it, The same thing applies to the boy child. When we say a gender-based advocate, you're not just a female advocate. So we speak for both men and both women and female, yes. So for the boys right now, advocacy is making us to understand that boys too need a lot of attention, not just the girls. You know, we focus all our attention on bringing up the girls and we left the boys. So many men were violated and they can't speak about it because in our society, the culture of shame and stigma that I talked about, if a man comes out to say he was violated when he was a child, people will laugh at him. That is why a lot of them don't talk about it. But the truth is, we need to give them the voice. We need to let them know that they can also speak up. And help is also available for the men.
Yeah, and thanks for coming to our rescue. Because quite frankly, the truth is that most boys have their first experience within the home, you know, with house helps, and nobody talks about it. You know, so yeah.
And then as they grow up, they tell you you're man, you're macho.
Yes.
It's okay. Whatever you're going through is okay.
But, you know, there's a mental, you know, impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need to let men know that before you are a man, you are a human being.
Yes. Yes.
You are a human being. You have all the feelings of a human being. There's nothing like man up.
Yeah.
Be human.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now, considering your Wise Woman Award, you know, for life turnaround in 2023. You'll explain a bit of that to us. Now, what strategies do you employ for the holistic recovery and empowerment of survivors?
Okay, so the first thing we do for the survival is we have therapists and counselors that we work with pro bono. We know that therapy is not cheap in this part of the world. So sometimes survivors shy away because they cannot afford to see a therapist. So one of the things we've done is we have some sets of therapists and counselors, professional counselors that we work with who provide their services pro bono. So as the survivor is going through therapy, part of the empowerment we do is, if one of the things Sonia Bruce but Not Broken does is to pay the school fees, especially for children who were born out of rape, because we have children like that who were born out of that. So we pay for their school fees if they want to learn a trade. Yes, but very soon our empowerment center will soon be ready.
Wow. So if a child is born out of rape, for example, and the child is 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, thereabout, no parent is responsible for the upbringing of that child, by the way?
Most of the times, the children are with the women. Okay. So we have volunteer men who come up to say, this child can take up my name. Yes, we have men who stand up against rape. We work with one of them. So they come up to say, I want this child to take up my surname. Yes, so they play the father figure in the life of that child. Yes. Yes.
Okay, we are talking about this. Awareness is being created. Social media is all over the place. There are more people like you now bringing this thing to the fore. In the townships, I want to believe. What happens to that boy, that girl, in the remote village, who probably does not have a smartphone to be able to reach out to the things that that people like you are available? How can communities better support male survivors? How do we get, into the interiors? Because I believe that this is even entrenched more.
Yeah. We have agencies that are working now with community leaders to train them on how to handle cases of XGBV. Yes, so I will use Lagos State as an example. Lagos is the cosmopolitan state, but we still have the trenches in Lagos. So we have an agency in Lagos State responsible for sexual agenda-based violence. One of the things they do is go into the villages, train community leaders so that they will know. First of all, let them know that this thing is a crime. It's not a family issue. It's not something you beg and wish and it just goes away. It is a crime against the state. Under the Lagos State criminal law, it is an offense. Defilement carries a penalty of life imprisonment. Defilement of a minor. Yes. Rape also is life imprisonment, So we as Tonya Bruce but Not Broken, we also go to the villages. I've gone to several villages. Sometimes I would, if it's a western state, I would have to speak the local dialect. Yes. I've gone to the east, there I would be able to speak pidgin. I get an interpreter who helps me interpret. Yes.
Yes. Great. I wouldn't ask you to give us your CV because already it's intimidating. You know, for instance, you know, you're a pioneer again of the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, AWE, right? Could you just tell us how does that entrepreneurship, you know, tie into your advocacy work?
Okay. Before I became an advocate, I was actually an entrepreneur. Okay. I still am. Okay. I actually gave you a reason why I came in this morning. Yes. So I am still so I'm building up capacity. One of the reasons why I do all of this is for the girl who has been abused, especially when she was a child and she thought that all hope is lost. You can live a normal life again. Because the abuse happened, it is not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean that you cannot attain all you dreamt of attaining. It's one of the reasons why I do what I do. Yes.
Okay.
All right, what you do is something that we must bring to the fore as often as possible, again and again and again. And the fact that, you know, the law frowns against it, the fact that people who are found culpable also are punished. Life imprisonment is big deal, and the other thing that you talked about. So we must find that platform to constantly bring this to the faces of people, you know, perpetrators and out there. Finally, because we're running out of time, what policy changes or legal reforms do you believe are crucial to addressing gender-based violence more effectively in this country?
The truth is we have the laws. We have the laws. Implementation is what we are fighting for. The laws are there. Like I said, under the Lagos State criminal law, the penalty for defilements.
Is it national? That's only Lagos State.
Yes. Under the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, there's the penalty is also life imprisonment, minimum of 21 years. And we have 32 states right now who have domesticated it. But Lagos State practices the Lagos State criminal law. Its own penalty is life imprisonment for defilement of a minor. So we have the laws. Now, like I was telling you about the conviction we got in October, it's an eye-opener. People are beginning to realize that, oh, really? You mean it's not just taking advantage of a small girl, a vulnerable child? The law is there. Now, that child is a vulnerable girl. Her mom is the widow. But you see, the Lagos State government stood, the Ministry of Justice, through the Director of Public Prosecution, provided legal representation for that child that she would never have been able to afford a lawyer. Yes, you know, so all we needed to do was give her the support, and we said to her, we will stand with you till the end of this case. And every day the case came up in court, the Lagos State Director of Public Prosecution was in court.
Wow.
Yes.
Very commendable.
Wow. Yes. That is also very, very, apart from being commendable, it gives a moral boost to survivors. I know how my DM was buzzing and the calls that day. I think my phone crashed that day because a lot of survivors.
Yeah.
When I gave a statement, I said, "This is for every girl every survivor that has been violated, and you thought you would never get justice. This particular justice is for every one of us."
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Wow.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. We will find time to have you back on the show in the new year, and please make yourself available because what you're doing is beautiful.
We'll try to avoid Christmas time.
Well, nothing more to say, but like I said, thank you for being the light in the darkness of these children, both male and female, and for what you do to ensure especially that offenders are exposed, not only exposed, that they are brought to book.
Amazing stuff.
Thank you.
Amazing stuff, I must say. Thanks so much for taking us through that unusual terrain. Usually we focus on girls, like we said, being abused by men, but this, wow, we must commend you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so there it is, the advocacy for boys, especially those sexually abused by the females. We shall take another break right now to return with more good news on the show. And Omo Henry Egbo, you know, the president of 100% Life International, is already in the studio, and she is our next guest. Please join us again.